Wherever you are and however you are listening, thanks for being back with us on Winning the Moment. Today is an absolutely action-packed episode with Eric Gubler. He is a real estate investor. He's got the Eric Gubler podcast. He's going to give us a lesson in the school of life, and I know you're going to love it. Stay tuned to the end. He drops a serious bomb right there, and make sure to like and subscribe. Moment. We have Eric Gubler with us. We were just chatting before we got started. Him and I are in a very similar podcast journey. He has 21 episodes out right now. I just had my 22nd episode out, so I'm excited to talk to you about that journey and how that got started. But Eric, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to jam with you. We've talked a little bit on Instagram.
Yeah.
And we've met in person like once or twice.
Yeah. We were at the same party, and I was like, "That's the guy."
And then now this is the first time we're like actually jamming together, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm looking. Are you from St. George?
I am.
Okay, so where'd you go to high school?
Snow Canyon.
So not
far from this studio. Right
yeah,
here.
right. Just a rock throw away. What year did you graduate?
2010.
2010. Okay. All right. So I was in 05 from Dixie. So then let's see, 2010. So Mitch would have been like 07. Do you know Mitch Fry at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Mitch, and then Boots is younger brother. So Boots and I are the same age.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So I know
Small world.
Family. Yeah.
And then you work with Chantel, right?
Yep.
She's a good friend of my wife. So it's St. George is a small town, you know.
Oh, yeah.
What's funny too is when I first saw you on Instagram, I didn't even necessarily know you were local. It was just that you and I are kind of trying to do a similar thing. And so of course your stuff is popping up. And so I'm curious, what's your purpose with your podcast? So you've got the Eric Gubler podcast. What's your goal with it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, man, like my purpose in life in general and the purpose of the podcast is just help men become better men and women become better women.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
I just feel like, your vibe attracts your tribe. So if you're not vibing, if you're not putting stuff out there, content out there on your social media, you're not attracting a tribe.
Yeah.
You're just like drifting through life, right? And so I'm a big advocate. In fact, I just had people come from up north and they stopped by my house. They asked if they could come meet with me for an hour at my house today. And this morning we went and I told them the exact same thing. Like, what are you putting out there on social media?
Yeah.
And what is your story? What is your message? And what are you passionate about? And if you don't get that out there, like we live in a world where it's free.
I know. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
And then we don't do it. Like that might not always exist. Cody.
Yeah.
It might not always exist. Like the most valuable piece of real estate, I'm a real estate guy, you know this.
Yeah.
Is not the piece of real estate where you have dirt. It's the 3 by 3 by 3 inch square on your phone.
Yeah.
That's where everybody wants to be. So
yeah, that's where everyone lives.
That's where everybody lives. And everybody's competing for that. And there's billions of dollars getting put into that. So again, to your question, like what is my purpose? What am I trying to do? I'm trying to get attention to be able to help people become the better version of themselves, whether it's a male or female.
And then is your real estate kind of just a byproduct of that? Like this is your message, this is your purpose. And if you like that and you need to buy or sell a house, then I'm here for you.
Yeah. And real estate in general, I'm passionate about the idea that it just grows generational wealth.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
nothing changes your trajectory in life more than real estate quicker anyways.
Absolutely, dude. Like not only just on like buying a home for your family, like that's cool and all, but like investing in real estate and growing wealth that way is just a piece of becoming a better version of you. Like everybody that's wealthy in some way, shape, or form has some piece of real estate.
Of course.
Or lots of it.
Yeah. Or it started their journey.
Sure.
So how long have you been in real estate then?
7 years.
Okay. Yep. What'd you do before that?
Oh, man. So I was door to door.
Oh, you did? So you did the door to door?
I did some door to door.
Are you LDS?
I am.
Did you go on a mission?
I did.
You did? Okay. Where'd you go?
Orlando.
Okay.
So everybody jokes and they say like, oh, it's a vacation.
Yeah, Disneyland, Disney World.
Hard. Dude, I gave it everything.
Did you?
And a lot of who I am came from that. I'm grateful for. I'll never, like cultural things within the church, I'll attack all day long.
Yeah.
I think good doctrinal things are available in any church.
Yeah.
And but the mission, whether people agree with it or not, whether people like on my mission or other missions, they left the church or this, that, and the other, like the truth of it is most of them say that was a good experience and it helped them in their life. And I would echo that same thing, that it's just a hard thing to do when you're 19 years old. At the time it was 19, and it helped shape me into who I am today.
Well, I don't think anyone can go and devote themselves to anything for 2 years and work with that regimented purpose and not come back better than they left.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Whatever it is, almost, right?
Yeah. Even if you're just selling vacuums, but you're committed to it for 2 years and you work that schedule the same way you work your mission schedule, there's no person that can go do anything with such devotion for 2 years and not come back better than they left.
Yep. Amen. That's exactly what it is. Like,
I feel like we
hit the
should
nail on the
scrap colleges and just have people do that,
For real,
you know?
huh?
Just go out and dedicate themselves to whatever it is that they care and love about for 2 years without any expectations, away from your family, away from your friends. Just put them out there.
I'm all about scrap college. I tell people that all the time. Like, why are you here? Why are you going to college? And if they can't answer, I'm like, get the hell out.
And did you go to school?
I didn't. I dropped out.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. And I finally had the realization that I don't need to have this piece of paper to make money.
Yeah.
If I'm here to make money, I'm here for the wrong reason.
Yep.
If I'm here because I need a skill and I'm only going to get that right now through college
Yeah.
because I need like certain accolades,
Yeah.
then okay, that makes sense. But I wasn't. And a lot of people aren't. And to those people,
Yeah, it's
I
almost
say,
like just
why are you
delaying
there?
their life. Like,
Absolutely.
I don't
You're
want
not
to
making money.
Yeah, I don't have to make a decision today. So let me go take some communications courses and have some fun. And it gives me 4 more years to figure out what I want to do.
Right. Yeah, my first year that I dropped out, my in-laws and my parents both said I was crazy. Multiple phone calls, like, what are you doing?
Ruining your life.
Like, this is your future, and please don't do this. And like, because my wife's side, her father didn't get his degree, and her mom has always not liked that necessarily, and
Okay.
so I think that's a story that's played there, and so it was like, hey, don't do this, don't drop out, don't do what we did, and yada yada yada. And I'm sitting here going, no, I know I can make this work.
Yeah.
And first year we netted over 6 figures, and that was the first time I ever made 6 figures.
First year in real estate?
What was I started a moving company, and I started getting my real estate license.
I saw that Kangaroo. Is that your moving company? Is and that here local?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep. So that was in tandem. So as an entrepreneur, I would say in general, and like trying to get out on my own.
Yeah.
We made 6 figures net in our first year. And I was like, it's just this realization, like, wait, I don't need a piece of paper to make money.
Right.
Like, I've always been told that my whole life.
Yeah.
And I think that chatter started to slowly over time, like, diminish.
Once they saw it.
Yeah. And then different stories come up, and there's other drama and whatever. But like that one is gone.
And so you've been doing that for 7 years. So how long did you door knock for?
I was just one.
Oh, just 1 year.
And it was funny, Cody. I say that, and I almost get a little bit like cringy to say I only did it one, because a lot of people do it one and like, oh, this isn't for me. No, I actually liked it.
Yeah.
I was good at it.
What were you selling?
It was pest control.
Okay.
And so we went to Virginia, and I was the number 1 sales guy in our office. Like, even at one point, but when I left, I was the number 1 above my manager selling. And I get it. Like, he's doing a lot more too.
Sure.
A great guy, good friend of mine. But like, I was good. And that led me into real estate.
Is that when you first found out you were good at sales?
Yes, 100%.
Or did you get any idea on your mission? Like, oh, okay, this is actually easier for me?
It's not sales, right? Like, it's different.
Yeah.
And so I realized that I was good at talking to people.
Sure.
I was good at overcoming fear and objections. I wasn't scared of doors.
That's the thing, right?
And
You weren't
those
afraid of no?
I wasn't afraid of no. I wasn't afraid of offending somebody. I felt like also, and maybe this is a big thing, Cody, that I think I wanted to, for all your listeners, I think this is an important thing. I felt like I was genuine in sales.
Yeah.
And that taught me a lot. I was looking in as a missionary, I really felt like I developed, like, I just care about you. What's best for you?
Yeah.
You
Whether
know?
that was becoming LDS or not.
Right.
Yeah.
I want you to be happy in your life. I care about you as a person. And I think that transferring into sales for me has helped me a lot. Like, I probably lost money over it, but it's helped me build a personal brand of, like, I trust Eric.
Yeah.
I trust him. I like him.
So important, especially when people are buying or selling a house.
Yeah. And when you're from
the
here,
biggest decisions they're going to make.
when you're from here, it's like, they know your aunt, your uncle, and whatever. It's like, do I miss out on dollars because of it? Oh yeah, for sure, all the time. I know how to navigate around it if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And sell them and close them, but I won't do it because I care about them as an individual. And that came from the mission.
Yeah.
And it transferred over to door and sales. And I think that's why I was good with it. I just realized, like, hey, I got to be on it. I got to be on all the time. I've got to go as quickly as I can. I got to go as smart as I can. I got to learn. I got to grow, and I got to take this serious. I was never on my phone. I was never on social media. I was never the guy in the park, chilling. I grinded for those 3.5 months.
Were you married at that time?
No.
No. Okay. So you're just a single guy out there working. And what do you think set you apart from your peers? So if you were the best in sales, why do you think that was? Just what you just shared, just that you weren't willing to take breaks, or?
I think it comes from sports. And so I would encourage all young kids to get involved in a sport and then just try to be the best at it for you. Like, I'm 5'10". In high school, I was 175 pounds. Like I knew I was probably, and I didn't run a 4.40.
Yeah.
Like I knew I probably wasn't going pro, but I was first team All-State, Region 9 MVP.
That was baseball?
Baseball. I was the number 3, number 4 hitter. I was the shortstop. I was the pitcher. I was 7-1 as a pitcher. Like I had 400 batting average junior, senior year.
Yeah.
Like I played it from sophomore to senior year. Like I worked hard. I wasn't naturally gifted, and a lot of people want to say that I was.
Yeah.
But I just worked hard. And so my point to all of that is like play sports and give it everything, because I teach this all the time, Cody, like how you do one thing you care about is how you do everything you care about. They're congruent.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So if you can learn how to play at a high level in sports, you will learn through that how to perform at a high level in business or in your marriage or in your faith or whatever it may be, whatever aspect of life that you care about.
Yeah, well, I think what's funny about what you just said is people thought you were naturally gifted. It's not that different professionally. When some people have some success, often outsiders are like, well, he was lucky. He had this opportunity or he had this connection, but they don't see all this. So in my book, Winning the Moment, it's really, it's rooted in sports as a child, right? Because that's where I learned the joys of winnings and the heart loss and the heart loss of defeat, right? Like how hard it is to lose. And I was always on very competitive teams, and I wasn't naturally good either. Like I knew as a young kid, like, okay, I have these 12 kids, 11 of them are better than me, you know, but I'm going to give it my everything. And I worked really hard at it. In fact, in my last podcast last week, Lance Brown, he was like, no, you're good. I played basketball with you. And it's like, I got good. But I mean, I grew up in Wyoming where it's cold. I would be out in my driveway and it would have like ice on it, patches. I'd have a huge jacket on and gloves, and I'm out there playing every night.
Yeah, they don't see the work.
Right, hundreds of shots up. And I did all that to still just be okay. It's not like I wasn't an all-state player or anything, but I had to put in so much work because I wanted it. And I think that sports really teaches that. Now I've got my kids growing up in sports, and so I'll coach like my son's football teams and stuff. And it's like, when we're out there, we're going to try and win because I want them. And if we lose, I want them to know that they don't keep score like the city doesn't, but I do. Yeah. And I'll let them know, like, we're down a touchdown or up a touchdown. Like, you need to know, did we win or did we lose?
Because results matter.
Right.
I say that all the time.
And either way, it's on us. Yeah. If we won, it's because we deserved it. And if we lost, it's because we didn't do well enough.
Right.
You know, and I don't want to, I think we got to be really careful as a society to not protect our children from loss, because what happens is they go through life and they never experience it, and then their first job, their manager, boss, whoever is like, oh, you didn't do very well right there, you know, and they're like, they don't even know how to handle it.
Right.
They've never learned to lose. Right. And if you don't know how to lose, you certainly can't win.
So true, dude. That's so good. I just think as you're talking about that, I remember a time when I was like 10 years old. I was on an all-star baseball team, and I remember like when you're 10, especially like you're playing sometimes with 12-year-olds, 10, 11, 12, and down here in St. George. And so you're the little guy on the block, right? And 10, you haven't hit puberty. You're like, you're not that big. You're not that strong. You can't hit home runs yet usually. And I just remember like I came home crying one day, and I was kind of a soft, sensitive kid, shy, kind of quiet.
Okay.
I was homeschooled too. Like that didn't help.
Yeah, so you didn't have as much social exposure.
No. And I felt like I was done. And my mom, I remember my mom and dad, they came in my room, and they're like, hey, if you want to be done, you can be done. Or you can choose to give 100% every single time you run out on the field. You can give 100% to every at bat. Every time you warm up, you're giving 100%. Every throw, every catch, everything that you do, all we want you to think about is just give 100%. And if you don't want to do that, son, we're okay with you being done. You can quit. I get a little emotional thinking about it, even though tears aren't coming to my eyes. I'm feeling it because that was such a pivotal moment in my life. And I remember my mom was kind of the one that said that, so I'm grateful for that. It taught me, like, in that moment, like, I'm just going to give 100%.
Yeah.
And I did, man. Like, every single time, like, the inning was over, I would run to the dugout. Everybody else was walking.
Yeah.
Every time we'd run out of the field, I would run out. Like every single,
those are the little things that change your life.
Yeah.
You know, it's those little differences that separate people apart, you know, and I think in life, generally, if you're giving 100%, your odds of failure are pretty slim. Yeah. How many people are actually giving 100% to anything?
Right. Yeah, we're just drifting.
We're just on our subconscious, just, we're not even making conscious decisions in our life. We're just there participating. How many people truly drive their life every single day and give 100%? If the audience is honest with themselves, it's a small percentage.
Yeah. And I say this all the time too. Everything good is on the other side of pain.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, I was in a painful position, right? Like I hated how I was crying. I didn't like where I was. You can either transmit or transform that. I chose to transform it from the help of my parents.
Yeah.
And so all pain, all fear, everything bad can be transformed into power. And so when you're in those moments, you almost should just get excited in a way.
Yeah.
Use this. Like if you're struggling financially right now.
Yeah.
Because of the economy. We want to talk about Biden. We want to talk about the economy. We want to talk about this, that, and the other. Things that are outside of our control.
Yeah.
And they can be painful. If you're in pain right now, you have a choice. You do have a choice to transform or transmit. Transform that pain into something bigger.
Well, and I think what's unique too is that, like, even looking back in the story you just shared, it was such a difficult time when you were 10, and now you look at it as a catalyst to good in your life. And I think most of our struggles with enough of a runway always become that.
Yes.
Like when something terrible happens to you, you look back on it once you have enough of a runway and you're out of the suffering. And no success or suffering is forever.
Yeah.
It's all cyclical, right? So once you've had enough of a runway from that failure or that pain, you oftentimes look back on it and say, oh, I'm so glad that happened.
Yes.
I wouldn't be who I was today had I not gone through that thing.
Right. That's why I have a big problem in the Utah culture. Sometimes you'll sit in church, and this is one of the big things that I have, and I want people to hear this if they're listening, and they maybe they agree, maybe they don't. But when people start to say, hey, when life is good, and then you just we're talking about religion in general, like if you're Christian, then you just wake up and you go, oh shoot, I just realized that my life is good. God's going to put something in my life now that's going to suck. Oh, I hope he doesn't. And you're trying to run from it.
It's a terrible mindset.
It's a terrible mindset, right? But it happens all the time. I've heard this throughout my whole life, and I used to buy into this, right? Like, how can I be so obedient? How can I be so perfect to where God won't throw challenges in my life? He will protect me from pain. He'll protect me from challenge and adversity. And there's this mindset that goes around in Utah that I hear all the time, man. And it's what a damning thought.
Absolutely.
An absolute damning thought. We need that in our life. And instead, you got to transform that idea into God is with me in that time to transform me.
Yeah.
Because adversity is a constant.
Yeah.
And I believe that adversity in my life is a constant. Pain is a constant. I want it in my life. Yes, it sucks. Yes, it's painful, but I choose pain. I seek out pain purposefully in marathons and the 29029 that I just did, and all these crazy physical things that are just they're really difficult.
Yeah.
I do that on purpose, man. Because when you go through hard things, it makes you better, and then you resist the pain less.
Right. When it builds that confidence that you can do it, because so much of that resistance is fear that we can't do it.
Yes.
Right. So we don't even want to try because we don't want to fail.
Yeah.
And so you just got to lean into it. In fact, there's a chapter in the book called Obstacles Are Opportunity, because I think in life, it's all about how you look at something. When you see people who succeed and fail, so often it's mindset. Because as humans, we're all not that different. Our capabilities aren't vastly different from each other. It's how we perceive things that creates the difference, right? And so I think that's why mindset's so important, and you're completely right. And that actually brings up a good point. So you talk about these difficult things you do. The 2901, or what was it?
29029.
That was you ran
Everest
the equivalent
hike.
of Everest? Yeah. So what did you do for that?
So it's
I
a
saw
hike.
that.
Yeah, it's a hike. So there's a couple, I think there's 5 or 6 different places in the world that they do these. And you're basically just climbing and hiking the elevation of Mount Everest. Now, granted, you're not at the elevation, so oxygen is still
not a problem.
there, so that's not an issue. Because you're basically hiking in this one. We're hiking 2.3 miles up, and then we're riding a gondola down, and we had to do that 13 times.
Oh, okay.
So it ended up being 29 point something miles at the end, and so. That's over a marathon.
Yeah, right.
Hiking
significant.
straight. There was literally times, Cody, where I would I could reach out and touch the ground in front of me, how steep the pitch was in the hike.
Wow.
It was tough. And I got 3 hours of sleep. You had to complete it in 36 hours.
Okay, I was going to ask how long it took.
Yeah. And so they feed you, they have masseuses, and they have physical therapists, and they have chiropractors.
Where did you go for it? Where was it at?
Sun Basin, so up north.
Okay, so
close
here
to
in Utah.
Ogden. Yeah. Yep. So tough though, dude. Like I had people on that hike that said, look, I do Ironmans, I do marathons, I do all these things. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I would like echo, it is one of the hardest things I've ever done.
I was just going to ask, what would you say is the hardest, like where you leaned into pain? What's the hardest thing that you've done?
That would be the hardest thing physically I've ever done.
Yeah, it was.
Physically, yes. Absolutely.
And it took you 33 hours, or how long did it take?
Yeah, it was 33, 34 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. 3 hours.
Will you do it again?
I'm doing it next year.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm already committed, dude.
So how do you train
And
for
it's
something
$5,000.
like that?
It's $5,000.
Oh, shit.
Like, why would you pay $5,000 to go do that?
That's
right?
amazing.
Why would you do that?
Well, God, imagine the people that are there, right?
Exactly what my thought was, Cody. You nailed it, dude. Like, I was thinking, like, my first thought, to be honest, was, and you got there faster than I did, dude. So, like, that's freaking awesome. My first thought was $5,000. Why am I paying what am I paying $5,000 for? Like, what's the value, right?
Yeah.
And then as I started thinking about it, I was like, if everybody else is paying $5,000, think of the people that I'm going to meet on this thing. Like people are a real asset. You know what I'm saying?
No kidding. Yeah, relationships are so important. So then I also am curious because I've seen this on your Instagram too, the program. And then you had Clint Riggins and Eddie Gomez on your podcast. Yeah. And they each of them had been on individually in mine. And I think did your brother do it? Or Mark, your brother knew Eddie and Clint? Was that your connection to them?
No, so I made the connection to them through the program.
Oh, you did?
We went to an event and did it together.
Okay.
And then on that trip in Nashville, Tennessee, Eddie reached out to me in person and said, hey, look, I've heard your brother's story. I've seen him on Instagram. I was sharing a lot of his stuff. He was on a weight loss journey. He said, I want to train him for free. And I was like, dude, sounds good. Like, so I linked him up with Clint and Eddie. And then they just really added fuel to the fire.
Yeah, they said he had a whole transformation.
Yeah, and he's still there.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah, and he's on fire right now. My brother's on fire.
That's great.
So, they had a big part to play in his transformation for sure.
Is he a big brother or a little brother?
Older brother.
Older brother.
So I'm number 2. So he's the oldest, and then I'm number 2. So, and this is funny. So kind of going into the program a little bit and what it is and why I do it. And we're talking about my brother. So my brother, my older brother, has been stuck financially for a while. And also, physically, he just went through a big transformation. He was like 300 pounds, and now he's like 220.
It's hard to be not at your best physically or even bad and have other things be good.
Yes.
Right. It's kind of like what you said. How you do anything is an indication of how you do everything.
Yeah.
And so if all those habits are bad, it's hard to have good habits in other places.
Yes. And I say that intentionally, like how you do one thing that you care about, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about cooking.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go and show up there at a high level.
Yeah.
But we got to get our priorities straight. We got to know what is important to us. And
absolutely.
Like fitness, family, finance, the F's that everybody talks about, right?
Yeah.
Faith. But kind of going back to Mark a little bit, like he was out of balance. He started to get more in balance. So he knows what the pain, right, that it takes to get to where he wanted to be, where he was lacking. He had a couple conversations with me about how he wanted to kick his butt in gear with finances and like start making more money, and getting better, investing, all that stuff. And the program, I convinced Nick Alfano to be able to come with me and get a group to be able to do the program here in St. George at Homestead Ranch.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, you need to come. And he's like, I don't think it's for me. I was like, what the hell do you mean? Like, what do you, why isn't it for you?
Yeah.
And I did say that on the phone. I was actually like really careful to like not like push him too hard. And I just like, hey, that may be true, but why do you think it's not for you? And he's like, well, I just see it as like a bunch of hard stuff. Like, I know I can do hard physical stuff. I'm like, dude, that's like 20% of what we do. Like, the biggest part of what we do is helping you get over your story. You're in your way.
Yeah.
You already have what it takes, but you're telling yourself some kind of BS story that's that's right. What's getting in your way.
You've made up a story that you believe.
Yes. And that's why you're not performing in the finance sector of your life, right? So I was like, let me just share a couple of videos with you, like give you a couple flyers, look at it, watch them, tell me tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning, all I do, I wake up in the morning, I get a text from him saying, I'm in. And I'm like, let's freaking go.
That's awesome.
I knew then what he was going to go through.
Yeah.
And everybody, we had 32 people there. It was the biggest group we've ever had. We're supposed to cap it at 30. We allowed 2 extra.
That's a good turnout.
It's a great turnout for what we do. It's very like intimate. And we don't we wouldn't even consider going really above 32 because then you just kind of like, it waters down, right?
Homestead's a perfect space for that amount of people too.
Yes. Yep. Cabins all around it and everything. There was like a perfect number. And yeah, it lit him up and it lit everybody else up. We were just talking before this podcast about a mutual friend that we know that's had a great experience. And I'm even watching them now, and I know their lives will look different a year from now because they went through the program.
Yeah.
And the whole basis of it, like I said, it's pain. Like you're going through physical pain, which then opens your mind up to be able to go through like mental pain, spiritual pain, emotional pain. Like you're leaning into the pain and like showing up as yourself today and like being totally vulnerable and open with that.
Yeah.
And like pour the salt on the wound, and then let's just realize where we're at and where we want to go.
Well, that kind of goes back to people showing up or giving 100%. How many of us are like authentically us even consistently? You know what I mean? Because we always put on these masks of who we think we're supposed to be or who society tells us who we're supposed to be or based on the people you're with. Perhaps your mask is different, right? Maybe there's some people you don't have to wear a mask and there's others that you do. And so
good point.
Boiling down to... And it's interesting because I talked about this on the podcast a couple of times as I never had social media before this. So before my book came out, I didn't even have it. I didn't exist in that space. I didn't participate in any capacity. And when the book came out, it's like, well, to your point earlier, the largest amount of audience is here and it's free.
Yes.
Like for me to get 10,000 people to see what I'm doing otherwise is going to cost a lot of money where I can just put one post and perhaps like 10,000 people can see it. Like you can't beat it, right? There's no bigger return. And as I was doing that, you watch all these people you look up to and you think like, man, they're doing a good job. I like what this person does. I like what that person does. And then you almost lose who you are because I'm trying to emulate this other version of success. Yeah. But that's their version of success, not mine. I'm still probably in that space of, man, how do I authentically show up as Cody the best that I can? Yeah. Because it's not even like a conscious thing. It's not like when I sit down, I think, oh, I'm going to try and be like Eric today. But if I see an Eric video that I love, then subconsciously I'm going to be like, okay, well, he was doing this and he did that. And it's this interesting dynamic where it's so difficult, at least for me, to be the best version of me and to be the real version of me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still trying to figure that out.
I feel you, dude. I've thought about this all the time. And recently more than ever about like, why am I showing up the way that I'm showing up and doing the things I'm doing, wearing the things I'm wearing, etc. Yeah. I just bought a truck sitting outside. Like for the longest time, I had a problem with like driving nice cars, vehicles. My wife drives a Model X. I just got a Ford Raptor, and it's nice. Like it's a nice truck. And when I was going through the process of whether I was going to buy it or not, my first thought was not, do I like want it? I already wanted it. Like I had it on my vision board forever. Like a Raptor is what I want. That's my car of choice of what I want to drive. But it was, what's my mother-in-law going to think? What's my mom going to think? What's my dad going to think? What's my brothers and sisters going to like? What's everybody, my friends? Like, are they going to think I'm snobby? Do they think I'm wasteful? Do they think I have a loan on it and I'm paying $1,200 a month on it? Like, what if they don't know me? What if they just see it? And like all this what if? Yeah. And then I finally had a friend, when I told him this, he's like, dude, but do you want it? Do you want it? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Then screw everybody else in their opinion. Are you willing to live your life for everybody else? I'm like, it felt so backwards because like the way that I was raised, the moral thing to do, like the righteous thing to do, drive a beat up car. Yeah. Like that was the righteous thing to do. Well, it's like
the Millionaire Next Door, you know, that talks a lot about that. Like that the millionaires that you don't know about are actually just driving a 12-year-old Buick. Yes. You know? Yeah. It's a story that I've heard all my life and like, okay, well, if I want to be that, and so I guess I'm going to have to say no to this nice truck for now because it's not a smart financial decision, blah, blah, blah. I heard Brad Lee say this in one of his reels. He's like, I bought a Mercedes the second I could. With the second I could afford a nice Mercedes, I did. And I made payments on it. And every time I drove that, it made me feel better. And it pushed me to be able to like make that payment. And to like, I'm wired that same way. Yeah. I don't have a payment on it. I paid cash for my truck. And I want to like, for me to be able, like, I'm not vulnerable and open. Like if I had a payment, I'd tell you I had a payment. Yeah. But like for me, I still get the same feeling. It's been a day of me driving it. And I'm like, I feel better in this truck than I did in my other one. Yeah. It's fun. It's different, man. It just is.
And it also kind of like is like, it's weird. I have this feeling of like, I did this for me because I wanted it. Screw what everybody else thinks about it. And it's fired me up in a day of like, yeah, I want to keep going and doing bigger
Yeah.
and bigger things.
Well, I think too that we get lost in thinking that other people really care about what we're doing, and maybe they do for a second, but everyone cares about themselves.
100%.
Like they may see that truck and be like, "Hi, Eric, to show off," but 10 seconds later, it's already out of their mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's an interesting dynamic too, because I love cars. I've loved cars my whole life.
Yeah.
And so when I finally got like a dream car, I had a hard time talking about it. And even now, like I feel like, oh, I would put that on social media because I love it and I'm so passionate about it. But then am I a dick?
Yes.
And it's like, well, obviously I'm not. It's not
Right.
not like, ooh, look at me. It's like, oh, I love this thing. Just like I love my kids. Like I'm not showing off that I have a kid. It's just I love them and they're a part of my life, you know? And so, but there still is that feeling of it was like difficult to talk about. You know what I mean? Or even like getting my dream house or all of those things that just felt like, ooh, maybe I should temper it down. But it's like, who am I tempering it down for?
Yeah.
Because there may
Are you doing
be.
it because you want to do it, or are you doing it because you don't want to offend somebody?
That's exactly right. And that's the wrong reason, because there is someone who's Cody 12 years ago who wants the same things I want. And seeing someone get it is like the aspiration.
It's permission.
Right.
You just gave
Absolutely.
somebody that's 12 years old permission that if they work hard, they can go have a nice car like Cody.
Yeah.
And like, why should we hide that? Because you're not a dick. That's the thing.
It's a weird dynamic,
It
you know?
is. Because it feels like it to me, and I don't know if you feel this way. Maybe you could comment on it, but I feel like it's a moral thing for me, the way that I was raised. And it's like this, I'm on the right path if I don't have these nice things. Like I'm more godlike, I'm more Christian. I'm better financially if I don't. And it's like, where did that story come from?
Yeah, that's a good, because for me, so I didn't grow up in religion, so I wouldn't say it's not a moral issue for me. It's almost.
Well, that's cool then, because your opinion is going to probably, like, I might be 50% of the people, and then you take care of the other 50%.
And I don't know that I have an answer, because I really don't know. You know, I was old enough that I didn't grow up with social media, so it didn't even, like, it wasn't a thing. Like, Facebook and MySpace came out, like, after high school, so I didn't even have that, where it would have been, like, that thing. I don't know what it would be. That would be maybe I got to go to the program and I'll figure it out. Maybe I got some trauma I gotta work on that. I don't know what's stopping me from doing that. You know what it probably is, actually? Yeah. It's probably more of an imposter syndrome than anything.
Interesting.
That's probably what it is. Like, oh yeah, always like rationalizing everything, you know, like, oh no, my house is nice, but I got lucky and I got a house in 2008 and, you know, I got it for a good deal and that's why I had this. Or, oh yeah, I got a car, but the business pays for it. Like, you know, it's,
like all these buts.
Yeah, I'm not this person, you know? And so that's probably what it is more than anything, is no matter what I do, I always feel like I'm not yet successful. And so maybe it's like I feel like the car would give a perception of success that I don't feel like I've earned. And so I feel guilty of like, oh no, yeah, I'm not earned it yet. I'm still working on it. But that's my own shit. It's not real. Right? Because success comes and goes anyways. Right. So there's moments I've been successful and there's moments I haven't been. It's not like a mountaintop you get to arrive at and stay there forever. Sure. Right? You got to keep going. And so that's probably what it is more than anything. Because no matter what I accomplish, in fact, I can remember sitting in my house and my wife and I, so when we moved back to Utah, we bought a house that was 983 square feet and we got it for $98,000. Awesome.
Nice.
And so my mortgage was $500, and we lived in that with my 2 kids and my 2 dogs for 5 years. And I loved it because my parents' like financial status growing up was always up and down. Yeah. So they're teachers originally, so it was smooth and steady. And then my dad became an entrepreneur, and then it was like, oh, this is freaking awesome. Oh, this is terrible. Yeah. You know, so it was very much like that. And so all I wanted for my family was stability, and having a $500 mortgage meant like no matter what, we're always stable. Good. You know what I mean? Like there's literally nothing that could happen that could shake our stability. And I realized that what was stopping me from getting more is that I just didn't want more. And so the second I changed my mindset, and I was like, you know what? Like the only thing in my way is me, and I'm just going to want more. And then I got my new house, and then I got my dream cars, and all of those things happened just because I changed my mindset. Arguably, my activities were worse, but my results were better. And I remember sitting in my house that I'd always wanted, and I love my house. It's truly my dream home. And I was sitting there and I was feeling like, I don't feel successful. I thought it would feel differently. And I think that's one of the precautionary tales, is that I think we can romanticize and fantasize about our future and you put all this weight and how good it's going to feel, and you get there and you're still just you.
Yeah.
And your life is not really any different. And then you're faced with like, oh shit, I thought this was all going to make me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And now I'm still just the same, you know? And so I think, you know, I like to say, don't wait for all be happy win moments, kind of like you with your Raptor. It's like, why are we delaying our gratification? Like, because tomorrow's not even guaranteed anyways.
Yeah.
So it's like, you could wait, like, I'll get the Raptor in 5 years, something bad happens and you can't get it. You might as well get the Raptor right now if you can and enjoy it, you know? So that's kind of a monologue that just went on a tangent there, but.
No, it's good. And there's a lot of like key things there, I think. One is, why are we focused so much on the goal and less about like how we're supposed to feel? Because you said like, I want to feel a certain way when I get there, but we're so focused on the goal. Well, why don't we just focus more on feeling a certain way? Because that's what we're really after if you break it down.
Oh,
we're
100%.
after a feeling.
Yeah.
Or even maybe sometimes in a bad way, probably, but like how other people will perceive us, and that gives us a feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a feeling.
Validation.
It's a validation, yeah. But what if we just had a similar feeling of just happiness and joy and peace or whatever? If we're seeking that, like we can get that a lot faster, right? My wife asked me last night, I was going to pick up the truck and buy it. Like, she's like, "Are you excited?" And I was like, she's like, "Oh, no, I mean, kind of, yeah, but no, not really. I mean, just going to get a truck."
Yeah.
And she's like, "But you've like thought about this for years. Like you wanted to go get this." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's not going to it doesn't make a difference. Like this is just a goal. It's something I set to push me. It's not something that I set to make me happy."
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it.
This truck is not here to make me happy. So in that sense, like, am I excited a little bit? Yeah, sure. But I don't expect this truck to make me happy. I know that. I just like this. No, this is just my standard.
Yeah.
This is me. Like, this is what I envisioned for my life. I'm good with me now, today.
Yeah.
I don't need this truck.
Yeah,
this
I think that's the key,
inanimate thing.
Is if you're happy with who you are, then all of the outside things can just increase your happiness and they can bring value to it, but they should never be the things that make you happy.
Yes. Yes. I like that I don't have to have it in the shop as much.
Yeah.
I like that it has less miles. I like that it, it's
has
nicer,
air-conditioned
and,
seats.
Yeah, there's luxuries and parts of that.
Yeah.
And that maybe could save me some time that I don't have to have it in the shop and fix it up or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
And it's okay to want
thing.
nice things too, and to enjoy them. And I think that's really what I was trying to do with my message of winning the moment is stop focusing so far out in advance and just focus on where we are because it's the only thing that's real. Yeah. And I noticed that even training for my first marathon because I've never been a runner in the sense of like, I don't just run every day. Like I only am going to do that if I've got something I'm working towards. And so in doing my first full marathon, I ran every single day and I was so like dedicated to the regimen of like preparation, but I was only focused on what my time was going to be in the marathon. Mm-hmm. So like all of it was built on like crossing the finish line. And then when it was over, it was kind of like, oh, shit. Okay, well, it's just over now, and tomorrow's tomorrow. And I was like, man, I wish I would have focused more on appreciating what I was doing in the moment because I was becoming a better version of me every single day, and I had this commitment that I don't always have, and that's really what it was about. The finish line was like the bonus.
Yeah, the
work is what the value was.
Yes, yeah. There's fulfillment in the journey and in the grind. I tell people too, the people that I mentioned earlier that came to my house today, he's like, I want to get in better shape. I'm like, okay, well then just like go put something on the calendar that's going to push you. Like go sign up for a marathon.
Yeah.
Go have something. And it's the same in your family life. Like go every quarter, go put something on the calendar for a vacation. Because then when you have hard moments and you have tough times, like that's going to push you through and it's going to help you have fulfillment in the moment because you know you have a goal at the end.
Yeah.
But then like your marathon, you can't just be like one and done. You got to keep setting new goals to be able to push you.
Yeah, my wife and I are big planners. We always have vacations out in the future. Be like, you're crazy, because like we're going to Mexico in like a month for Thanksgiving, but we plan that the Thanksgiving before.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So it's like we always have these things. So it's like when you do have those moments when it's difficult, it's like, oh, but I know I'm working.
I know I have something coming. Yep. We're the same way. Yeah. You have something to look forward to together.
Yeah.
And so you push together.
Yep.
It's
so awesome. In the program, so when's the next one? So you just had one. When's the next one?
December. Yeah.
Is it going to be here in St. George again?
It's supposed to be here in St. George.
Supposed to be, so it's still like in the works?
I would say 99% sure this could be here in St. George.
Okay. Yeah. And so if someone is interested, how do you go about participating and what are the logistics of it?
Yeah, I mean, here pretty soon we're going to have some stuff coming out. I would say follow me on Instagram, like at
Okay, that's the best
Gubler.
thing to do.
Go there, in my link tree, I'll have new updates there. Reach out to me, shoot me a DM, and we can get you there. Like I said, it's a very intimate group. It's difficult. It's going to cost you $2,000 to come, but it's all your lodging, your food. In fact, for everybody listening to your show, though, like if they want to reach out to me and they just DM me that they're interested in the program, I'll give them $500 off.
Sweet, that's awesome.
So just because it's you and your followers, your clients, whoever, like if you just say, "Hey, I heard you on the Cody Aident podcast,"
That's awesome.
I will give them $500 off to come in December if they want to.
That's a huge deal. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, for some
discount.
people, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, and the value that they're going to get from it is way more than that. And I'll tell them this: if you don't feel like I 10x the value and you 10x the value from the event, I'll give you your money back.
What's so interesting, do you know the book "You Are a Badass" by Jen Sincero?
I know the book. I've never read it.
Me neither. I went to the Summit of Greatness. Do you know Lewis Howes?
Yes.
So he's got his podcast, School of Greatness. He's kind of like one of the like pioneers of it, right? And so he puts this event on called the Summit of Greatness, and I went to it this year for the first time. And Jen Sincero was there talking. And I knew about her book, but I hadn't read it. So I wasn't like overly amped for her because I didn't really know her story or anything about her. And she was incredible. And she talked about when she was at like the start of her career and she had no money. She was like living in a garage and she like was just, just struggling through life. And she met a business coach, and the business coach's fee, I think, was double her annual salary or something like that. But she was like, fuck it. I just did it, And then that changed her whole life.
Right.
Like the Jen Sincero everyone knows today, all is a reflection of that decision to take this unbelievable financial commitment that she did not have any means or belief to know she could pay for it. And then she signed like her first coaching client shortly thereafter. And that coaching client paid her like 3 times what she was making in her annual salary prior to that. And even as she was sitting down with her coach talking about, what am I going to charge this guy? And the coach gave her the number. It made her feel like kind of ill. Like, I can't charge this person that much money, but she did. And then that person got a huge return out of it. And it was a great reminder in life that you've got to be willing to make those commitments and bet on yourself.
Yeah, bet on yourself.
And when you do, you're always going to get a return. Like you said, there's no way you're going to go to that, be with 32 like-minded people and not have something positive come out of it.
Yeah.
One relationship can easily wipe out that cost.
100%. I look at it this way. A lot of people, pleasure is not enough of a motivation to be able to get them to where they want to go financially or any aspect of their life.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows or has thought or dreamt, it seems like, of where they want to be or what they want to own or what they want to do financially or how much they want to make. And they have these goals and dreams, whatever, but they don't have anything. They don't have their back against the wall. So I say it this way. There's a study done with a rat. And I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it on your podcast. So they have this rat in a box, okay? And it's dark in this box, and they starve the rat. And on the front of the box, they open this little latch, and they fill it with an aroma of cheese. That's the pleasure. Right?
Yeah.
That's what they want. The rat, it's starving. It wants the cheese so bad. And so hooked up to the rat, they have a string essentially around the rat's waist. And then that string is connected to a machine that's calibrating or calculating how hard that rat is pulling against the rope, the string. And so they calibrate how hard it's pulling to get the cheese that they thinks is there. Okay. Well, then they start it over and they run it again. This time, the difference is they open up the front, they fill it with aroma of cheese, but then they open the back of the box and they fill it with an aroma of cat. So now you have this interesting dynamic of like, now you have pleasure and you have like fear.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because that rat pulled twice as hard.
Of course.
Right?
That's fascinating.
It's fascinating because we work the same way as humans. It's not good enough to just have the pleasure of like, I'm going to go get the cheese.
Yeah.
We need to have our back against the wall and something scare the shiz out of us.
Yep.
Of like, I've got to make it happen because those 2 little kids are staring up at me every freaking day.
Right.
And they need daddy to show up and be the best version of himself.
Yeah.
Like that is motivation and fear in and of itself.
It's too bad that we need that, but it's important to realize what it is because just use what's available to you.
Yeah, channel it.
Ideally,
use it.
We should be able to work towards our pleasure in the same capacity, but we just don't. Even like your brother, I was thinking, when he wanted to start his journey. It's like all of us know how to be healthy and how, like, it's not like getting a six pack is a crazy mathematic equation that only a few people know the answer to. We all generally know how to do it. It's just, do you want to or not? It isn't about knowledge. We understand what eating healthy looks like. Most people understand the basic dynamics of finances. It's not like the knowledge, and even if you don't know, you can just hop on YouTube and figure it out. The answers exist for damn near everything.
Oh yeah.
But we just don't want to. We just don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a bunch of secrets that are stopping people from being successful. Well, the answers are there.
And that's that's a perfect example too, because I remember going to my brother's house on a Sunday and he was in tears about how his doctor just told him that if he doesn't change his lifestyle, he's not going to be around to see his daughter get married. His oldest daughter, who's now 11. Like, he's not going to be around in, maybe 10, 15, whatever years to be able to watch her get married and walk down the aisle with his daughter.
Right.
That's fear.
That's what got him going.
That's motivation.
Yeah.
And so he used that, right? And in a sense, I technically, when I talked to him, used that to be able to motivate him to be able to, because he knew what he wanted.
Yeah.
But he needed the push.
Yeah, he needed the cat behind him.
He needed the cat.
It's so interesting in life, those dynamics. I think part of the problem too is it's just so easy to be comfortable now because there's so many, you can order food to your house. Yeah. Like now McDonald's will just come to you, you don't even have to get in your car and drive to get it. There's so many things that make having an average life easy. There's so much entertainment right here. Yeah. You can entertain yourself for hours.
Yeah.
Just right here, And so I think that you've just really got to be purposeful with the decisions that you make and the things that you do. Another thing I saw you, a clip you had was called Pulling His Card. You know what I'm talking about?
Pulling his card, yeah.
Yeah, talk about that. That was fascinating.
Pulling somebody's card?
Yeah.
I just, the idea is something that comes from my coach.
Who is your coach?
Nick Alfano is the guy in the program that started the program, and I signed up for his program a while ago, and he's big on, and that's his phrase, like pulling somebody's card. Like, you need people in your life to pull your card. Essentially what it means is that you surround yourself with people on purpose that are not scared to tell you when you're messing up,
right?
When you're not showing up. And too often we're just like, we almost seek out, again, we're running from pain, and we're seeking out the people in our life that won't do that. That are always going to be the supporter. They're always going to say, "Oh, you're so smart. You're so good looking. You're so strong. You're so this. You're so successful. Whatever." And so you're like at the top of the ladder in your group, or you're like the alpha in your group.
Sure.
And you're not like at the bottom, right? And the problem with that is, then you're not growing. Like, I want people in my life that are willing to pull my card. That are willing to say, "Hey, you're not showing up here. This is what you need to change. You need to tweak this in your social media. You need to tweak this in your real estate business. You need to show up in your faith, in your marriage, and your whatever." Like, I seek those things out. I have coaches in those areas in my life so that they can pull my card, because that's where growth is.
Absolutely.
And I don't think people think about that enough. We get it, and going back to sports, the good coaches do what?
Yeah, pull your card.
They pull your card,
right.
and you know that they care.
Yeah, and that's why they can
pull your card.
That's why the great coaches can get away with it, because they're coming from a good place.
Yes,
they're not doing it to beat you down; they're doing it to build you up.
Right. Yes, and in life it's no different. And when we become an adult, it's like we almost feel like we have permission now to not have any coaches anymore. And we like it. We just, I'm an adult. We've arrived in the sense that, like, I am now mature enough and capable to be able to make my own decisions without any influence from any coach or anybody else, because I've already got coaching and things in life. Kind of, not really.
Yeah. Now, most people don't. We did, so our company, Vibrant, we invested in EOS, which stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it was a huge financial commitment, and we were much smaller than most companies that do it. Like, if you look at EOS's target demographic, like, we were significantly under it, because it does have this big cost associated with it, and it took 2 years to do it, and I really was hesitant and like didn't want to financially, right? I was in that conservative mindset of like, oh, we just can't afford it. Really, we couldn't afford not to do it, and it has completely transformed our company. And maybe it's the ego in us that thinks we don't need a coach, because, like, what do they know that I don't know? But man, signing up for that and going through that 2-year program absolutely changed the trajectory of our company. Because it gave us structure and direction and all these things that, like, now you look at it and you're like, oh, how could we not be doing that? But we weren't.
Yeah.
you know? And so it was such a great testament to the value of investing in growth.
Yes. You're the biggest asset, right? Like the safest investment you're ever going to make is in yourself. And then the second best investment you could ever make is in other people, because people are the true assets.
Yeah.
We, number one, us, ourselves, and then everybody else around us. And I say this too, and it's a little bit of a stretch, but like if you're not vibing what your tribe to you, and they don't know what you're crystal clear on, then how do you invest in the people that actually care about your vision?
Right.
So it all goes in hand. Everything that we're talking about, like get out on social media, put your vibe out there, and then as you attract those people, invest in them, invest in yourself, because then you're growing this movement of what your passion and purpose in life is.
Absolutely.
And you have all these really awesome people along with you on your team pushing that movement.
Well, just like they say, you're a reflection of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You know, you want to make sure that those got the right 5 people around you.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that number is. Another thing that I saw that was interesting, I wanted to ask you about is you'd shared a clip about being in an explosion.
Yeah.
So did you have like a near-death experience?
Yeah.
Wow. So what's that story?
Yeah. So it was like, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years ago, we mentioned I started a moving company and I do real estate. So there was a client that I sold her house and she needed to move to California. And on this particular move back then, I was just getting to the kind of the spot where I could like hand off my moves entirely and just focus on real estate like I am now. But this one, I think we were just short a couple guys. So I was like, look, I'll go on this move. I'll drive you to California. I remember driving to California, and she had us stay at this like nice resort. It was beautiful. It was like her timeshare. We were on a golf course, beautiful views. I'm like, this is the life.
Yeah.
Like, all I have to do is unload this like truck that's half full tomorrow morning. We're going to enjoy this golf course. We're going to go eat some nice food, blah, blah, blah. And like, I just made all this money selling her house, and then she's paying me to move her. And I wake up the next morning and I go down to the truck, and there's just fumes of propane like pouring out like every inch of the truck. And I'm like, how in the world did propane get in the truck? Like, we specifically tell people like we don't take propane. And then I thought to myself, crap, there was a barbecue grill that we put in the middle of the truck, and it had one of those like weather covers over it. And we just forgot to check, like lift up the cover,
see
open the hatch, and see if the propane's in there. Because she had 2 other propane tanks in her garage, like and another one out by her grill. So we thought, well, 3 propane tanks, like surely she's taking who has 4, you know?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so I thought to myself, well, let me open up the back, and I did. I tried to let it vent out, but there's no ventilation. There's no other window to like let the air go through. So I'm like, okay, when it got to a point where it wasn't crazy thick, I just held my breath, hopped up in the truck, and I was like, I gotta go shut it off so we can drive it and go unload this truck. That's what I was thinking. As I rubbed across everything in the truck to the middle of the truck, I developed static electricity on my body. And then when I touched the cover and lifted it, there was the most propane, like right in that mushroom of the cover.
Yeah.
And I saw it spark, and then the whole truck with fumes just ignited instantly. And it threw me out like a shotgun shot, like out of the truck and like onto the asphalt. And I'm in shock. Like I can't see. My eyes are black. I'm like, I don't know if I have my limbs, my eyes, my anything.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what's going on. And 0 to 60, dude, like instantly. And so eventually I kind of come to, and my arms and legs are just torn up, bloody, and like just skin kind of like falling off, hanging off. And luckily I was with the guy that was going to help me unload the truck. He calls 911, the ambulance comes, and I start going into shock. And they're like, we need to life flight you to San Bernardino, to their burn care unit, to make sure that you didn't inhale any of the fumes.
Wow.
And then also like when it sparked, like it could go through your airway and then singe your lungs and you'd be dead. And so at the time, my wife is pregnant with our second. So we have 1 and she's pregnant with number 2 and due in like a couple months. And I'm like still somehow conscious, but then like in the helicopter, I have this moment of like everything went quiet. And like not like out of body really, like I'm not like looking down on my body or anything or like dying, but I'm like thinking to myself, like I've been told by the professionals that I could die at any moment because of what I inhaled.
Yeah.
I don't feel good. And the thought that came to my mind when it went quiet was, if you were to die right now in the helicopter, would you feel good about how you've lived your life so far?
Yeah.
Like, have you given it everything? And my thought was like, no, I know it's not. Like, I was looking at porn, but I wasn't, and I was telling my wife, but I wasn't like honest. I knew that I needed to get that out of my life. I knew that I needed to work harder in my business. I knew that I needed to work harder in my faith. I wasn't in shape. I knew I could work harder.
Oh, so this time
fitness.
You weren't in shape?
No, dude. Like, I have a picture. Go to my Instagram, and I have I was fat, dude. I was fat, and I'm like, I don't have these things. I know I'm lying in this area of my life to myself. Like, I'm trying to be honest.
So you're telling your wife like half truths about that.
I was like, hey, I had a relapse. Like, I looked at porn and like, I'm so sorry. And it was like once a month.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I just remember that in the helicopter, like, that's something I need to change. Like,
yeah,
I need to be better at that. And so I need to be better at being vulnerable. I need to be better at being open. I need to be more of a leader. I need to be all these things like just hit me in this helicopter. And so it's been a process since then, but obviously I'm still here. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I made it through that time. There was some PTSD, like it was a part of that, but it was a painful moment. And you can either transform or transmit that. Right. I could have been irritable and then transmit that to my kids and then just be angry at the world, or I can transform it and use it as like fuel to better myself and to be able to quit looking at porn and quit doing the things and quit eating the food and get into shape.
All those things aren't a net positive in your life.
Yes. Like, get serious and intentional about my life. And that was honestly, so now I look back and I go, that was the greatest blessing that ever happened to me, because before I felt like I was doing good things, but I was drifting. Yeah. I was just kind of like, yeah, this is good, but I'm not great.
Interesting use of the word drifting. Have you read Napoleon Hill's
Outwitting the Devil? Yeah. That's where I get it for sure.
Yeah.
Great book.
Such a good book.
Yeah.
Doesn't get enough credit.
No. I tell people about it all the time. It's like one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too. It blew me away. I loved it. Man, that's so interesting. So did you ever have like a connection with a source when it was like that? Would you say that's what it was when it was quiet? Or like, would you say it was a full near-death experience for you in that way, that you connected to something that you can't rationalize? Or
I call it like connecting with your higher self. And I think that God is the one that shows you who you really are. And I think that that's what it felt like to me, is like, everybody listening to this, like, you're already worthy.
Sure.
Like, if you think about it, you're already worthy. You're trying to tell yourself a story that you're already not. And it doesn't matter if you're addicted to porn or if you're drinking or if you're addicted to drugs or what, like, you're already worthy. You still have value.
Yeah.
You just think you don't because of your choices, but that's not who you are. That's so not you. And so you need to just start showing up as the authentic you. And I think in that moment, Cody, it was like I saw a glimpse of my potential.
Yeah.
And who I really was, a glimpse of it.
Yes, you got a peek at what you could be.
Yeah. Yeah, and where I was falling short and who I could be and who I am. And then from there, it was just, constantly like not letting go of that vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So that kind of goes into the questions I like to ask every guest. As I'm trying to. So in the first book, you haven't read the book, have you?
No.
Okay. So
I need to get one. You got one for me?
You can take that one. I'll bring another one.
All right.
So in the book, I don't say like what you should or shouldn't be doing. I really talk about why you should be doing it, because I didn't want to say like, hey, go do these things, right? Because who am I to say that? I really just want people to understand why it's important to find wins for yourself, to build momentum in your life, right? Doesn't matter what it is. Like for someone, it may just be, I got a 20-ounce soda instead of a 44-ounce soda, right? No soda is better, but 20 is better than 40. So give yourself the credit as a win. And so what I'm trying to do with this podcast is build the data for the second book, where now I can say, if you think that you like the life that Eric has built, here's how Eric did it. Here's how he sees things, or here's how Tony did it. So now I'm going to give some data points of these are the unifying pieces of information that I got that set these people apart. And so in that vein, what would you say is the biggest win in your life?
The biggest win that I've had in my life.
Yep.
Biggest win. I would say the biggest win that I can think of is being willing and not scared to let go. And it's not one event, it's just more of a mindset, is when I finally realized that everything that my parents told me, everything that anybody else told me, I could challenge, and that was okay, and that I have to rewrite the stories in my life. in order to change. And I know that may seem like a kind of a weird answer, but I see that as my biggest win because it's constant. Like if I'm really truly seeking after truth, I have to let go of the things that I've thought were true since I was 2 years old. Like I have to challenge my religion. I have to challenge my finances. I have to no, I didn't choose any of it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's been the biggest game changer, is just like letting go of the story that's been placed in my mind and my subconscious that I didn't even know it was there, recognizing it, seeing that it's a story and not reality, and being unafraid of changing that.
You know what's interesting is if you don't see it, it is the reality. Isn't that so interesting, right? Because it isn't unless you don't see that.
Yes.
And I think that that's actually a really super profound answer, and I love it. And I think that the only thing I would challenge you on is to not put that prerequisite at the end of this may be a weird answer. Because I think the reason you probably say that is because society makes us feel like that's a weird way to think, but it's the only way to think, right? I think that's probably one of my favorite answers I've ever gotten. That's an incredible nugget, and I'm excited. That's going to be a social clip for sure.
Oh, thanks. No, I mean, it's hard to like. I think what went through my mind there of why it's a weird answer is I think a lot of people want to talk about an event, like one thing.
Yeah.
And the reason I feel like it's different is because for me, it's ongoing, right? I'm always challenging that belief.
Absolutely.
And so that's where I think for me, it's a little bit different. But I say it this way: belief, action, result. And this is one of the things that became a big game changer for me. And I'll share it with everybody listening today. Your belief system will influence your actions. So if you have a negative belief system, that's going to negatively impact your actions and how you show 100%. Up. Your actions, if they're negative or not 100%, giving 100%, will affect your result. Okay, we'll apply it to sports. You have a belief system that you're not good at baseball. Because you're not good at you think you're not good at baseball, your actions are you don't hustle, you don't show up, you miss the ground ball. Then the result of you strike out, you miss the ground ball, I guess is more of the result. That reinforces the belief that you're not good at baseball. All you have to do, and you can apply this to any aspect of life, and this is what I'm getting at, is change the belief about yourself in whatever area of your life you want it changed.
Yep.
If you're poor, tell yourself you're rich. If you're looking at porn and you feel like you're a porn addict, tell yourself otherwise.
Yeah.
If you're somebody that is overweight, you got to change the story, the belief that you're overweight. You have to act and show up and wake up and be the person that goes and works out. And like you identify, and your subconscious knows that you are now no longer that person. That affects your actions. Your action affect your result. And then the result will further positively influence that belief that I am in shape.
Yeah.
I am confident.
I always used to ask or tell my sales reps, like I'd ask them, do you like to be right? And of course the answer is yes, even if they said otherwise. Everyone knows we want to be right. So in our lives, if we say something, we will always look for vindication of I told you so.
Yeah.
Right? So I had this one sales rep, I remember, his name was Tyler Bennett in Gilbert, Arizona. And he said, man, dude, I get every red light on the way into work. And I said, interesting. He goes, yeah, dude, that's why I'm late. Like I get every red light. And I said, do me a favor. Tomorrow say you get all the green lights. I was like, just say that. Will you do that for me? Can you do that? And he's like, yeah. He's like, but it doesn't matter. I was like, just humor me and say, tomorrow I'm going to get all the green lights. Say it now. Say it when you wake up. Say it when you get in your car. And then the next day he calls me. He's like, dude, that was wild. He was like, I got all the green lights. And I was like, you probably didn't, but you remembered the green lights because that's what you wanted to focus on. Like if you went through 20 lights on the way to work, it may have been 10 and 10, but the difference was you decided that you were seeing the green lights instead of the red lights. Yeah. Your life was really no different. It was exactly the same, but where you put your intention was different. 100%. And by simply changing the way you thought, because you want to be right, that's why I always tell people, don't say, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that, because all that's going to happen is subconsciously you may sabotage yourself just so you can have the opportunity to be like, Eric, I told you so. Yeah. I can't lose weight. I tried. I did what you said. See, I can't help it, So when you change the way that you think, you change the way that you act. So I think that's awesome. So then the opposite of that question then is, what's the biggest loss for you in your life?
The biggest loss. See,
it's a hard one.
I feel like in everything that I do, I truly, truly believe that like everything that I've talked about some hard times already on the podcast.
Right.
People could say that those are losses. I just don't perceive them that way.
Yeah. I think that's a great answer. And I think it's true that even it's only a loss when you're living it in the moment. Like if you're going through something really difficult right now, it would feel that way. But as we already established earlier, once you get past it, it's not a loss anymore. And I think that the value for the listeners is that when they see someone who's living their life in the way that you are, to realize that like part of that is you no longer accept losses as losses because you know that pain is going to create a positive outcome.
Yes, always,
you know,
every time. The obstacle is the way. Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like one of your chapters in your book is somewhat similar to that. It's not about the pain or the suffering or the event. It's about how quickly can you get over it and turn it into a positive.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that book a couple of years ago. And
that's Ryan Holiday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that, and I'm like, that is so true, right? Like, I know people and have met people, like grown adults, that all they can talk about is, yeah, like divorce is tough, right? But like, oh yeah, she screwed me over. That's when everything went downhill for me. And it's been 30 years. It's like, dude, if you told yourself a different story.
Absolutely.
And somewhere in that, anywhere in that 30 years, you wouldn't be in the situation and the mindset and the negative like crap hole that you are today.
Yeah.
But you're not willing to do that. Why? I don't know. I don't really know why. I'm just grateful that like my mindset is.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Don't do that.
Because if you challenge someone to physically write the story of their life, like put it on paper and said, you're in charge of your life. It can be anything you want it to be, put it on paper and write it. They would never write the story that they actually write in reality. Yeah. But either way, you're the author of your story.
Yes.
You get to
hold
decide.
the pen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to think of it. So then you haven't read Winning the Moment. So what is the most influential book that you've read? What book impacted you the most?
Oh man, well, it's always changing, you know. I would say one of my top ones that is showed up here in this podcast episode is soundtracks.
Oh, I have not heard of that.
The last name is Acuff, Acuff. I want to say Ryan Acuff.
Could it be John?
Could be. Last name is Acuff. You'll find it.
Okay,
soundtracks. That has been, so again, like changing your story, changing your mindset. That has been one of the greatest books of just simply putting it out there. Like, this is how your brain works.
John, sorry, just for
okay,
everyone.
so
John
there's
Acuff.
John, okay.
A little
Sweet.
angel in my ear just said John Acuff. So go look that one up. I promise, like that one for all your listeners, like that is well worth your time.
Sweet. Well, that's awesome. That's a new book I haven't heard of, so that's always a treat. Okay, then my last question for you is, how do you define success?
Success is not money. Success is not, like we've talked about, it's not something that you can stay with, right? Like stay at a summit, like you kind of mentioned before. Like you can't just arrive and like you have success. Success is having non-negotiables to me. You have non-negotiables and you do the things that you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do them, and it's at a high level. Every single day you get up and you just have that discipline of you're going to make it happen that day, regardless of what's thrown at you, how you feel, whether you want to or not. To me, it's that to me is success, because if you have the recipe of doing those things and knowing where you want to go, and staying consistent, it's inevitable. Like where you want to go and who you want to become, it's just math. Like you just got to stack those wins.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in working out. Like if I have a caloric deficit and I have 10,000 steps and I hit my cardio for 30 minutes between 130 to 150 beats per minute, I get my lift in and I'm making sure I do all of these things, I will lose weight.
Yeah.
Every single time. There's not a human being on the face of this planet that I know of or am aware of where that won't happen.
Right.
And it's the same thing in anything you want to do in your life. So to me, success is just doing the things that you say you're going to do at a high level when you say you're going to do it. And to me, that's like, we all get that feeling of like fulfillment when we do that.
Absolutely.
And like, that's the reward center, that dopamine hit of like, hey, that was good. Good job. That's success for today, but rent is due every day.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you distilled it down to one word, it's almost like what you're saying is discipline. And it's interesting because I feel like I've seen so much lately that it's not motivation can only get you so far. It's discipline that makes the difference.
Yeah.
Because it is exactly what you said. It's doing the thing you're supposed to do even when you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And we can always make excuses. And I like to say excuses are lies we tell ourselves of, well, it was hard today. I had a bunch of showings and I got to hang out with the wife. So I just can't get to the gym today, and we rationalize it for ourselves. But realistically, if you've got that discipline and it's your non-negotiable, no matter what it is or what time of day it is or how you feel, you got to do that. You got to do it.
Yeah. I'm just going to add this one thing because I know we're probably getting low. This has been fun. It's
been
gone by
great.
fast. But I want to give this little piece to your listeners because maybe it'll be helpful. Put coaches in place. We talked about that a little bit. You need accountability and you need to spend money. If you want to be able to do those things, you can't get in a situation where you're tired, hungry, bored, lonely, angry, stressed, whatever, and then just expect you to always grind through it and be disciplined.
Yeah.
A lot of discipline for me and how I've been able to be disciplined, I let the money go out of my bank account so it hurts a little bit. And I make sure that money is going towards a coach that's going to hold me accountable. So there's a piece of accountability. Otherwise, if we're the only ones holding us accountable, my wife is the most kind, loving person. She loves me no matter what I do. If I was fat and lazy, she would still love me. She wouldn't care.
Well, that's why I had to write the book. I had to create a system for myself. That's what these bracelets are. These are my accountabilities to myself because I can't do it on my own.
Yes.
If you and I were tomorrow we're going to the gym at 7 and you're going to be there, then I will be there.
Yes.
But if you message me at 6:30 and said, hey, dude, I'm not feeling good, I'm not going to be there, neither am I.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's so sad that we are so able to show up for others and yet so unable to show up for ourselves because that's the key. And so you do need an accountability partner to do that. The question I have for you, because someone listening might be like, well, Eric just bought a Raptor in cash and he's successful in real estate. Of course he buys coaches. What do you tell someone who's living paycheck to paycheck? How should they go about getting a coach?
Listen to podcast.
Yeah.
Go listen to podcasts and get all that free content first, and then let that put you to a certain level. The second you can earn money and grow, you'll get there faster than you think. But when you start to earn money, don't be afraid to let it fly. Let it fly in your personal development.
That was so good.
You need to be able to let it go. And so many of us are so scared because it's and when it comes down to is this, and I'm just going to spit it out because I'm so freaking passionate about this idea. The reason why you're not showing up and investing in yourself is because you don't trust yourself that you're going to get a ROI on when you go and spend the money.
Yeah, because you're thinking to yourself, I could pay for this coach, but I'm still a lazy piece of shit. So what's it really going to matter?
That's
totally
the only
right.
reason why you're not
totally
paying $5,000 for a coach.
Yeah.
Is because you do not have confidence in yourself that you're going to put in the freaking work. And that's it.
That's a truth bomb for sure.
So go spend the money so that it hurts.
Yeah.
And then you'll show up. It's backwards.
That's a great message.
Let it fly.
Good message for me too, honestly. Because like I said, I can be overly conservative at times. And so even for me, that message just rings so true. That's what a great way to end it. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with?
Oh, man. It was a good jam sesh. Honestly, just not scripted. Just go back and forth. I love this. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, man. Thanks for being here. If people want to connect with you, best way to do that?
Instagram.
Okay.
Just at Gubler. Shoot me a DM. Go give me a follow. I'm posting stuff every single day. Hopefully that will help you in your self-development, think bigger, think different, become the best version of yourself. So I'm also on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, but probably the best place is Instagram.
And you got that link tree that will kick out to everything else too. Okay. All right. And then also for the listeners, be sure if you're interested in the program, reach out to Eric, send him a DM. He'll give you $500 off, which is a huge offer. So, and don't wait because there's only 32 spots.
That's right. It is limited and we will fill them.
Yeah, of course you will. Okay, Eric. Well, hey, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, man. Thanks, dude. It was fun.